Eni is able to really help people and look at them as a whole, not, just one little piece of their life, and really help them be able to put all the pieces together. And she really, really, truly cares. There's never a push or pressure or anything to make you do something that you don't want to do. It's just sharing information, and I just love her for that. So thank you so much for listening to me. And I forgot to record it, so I just hit record now. And Eni, take it away. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Randi. Really appreciate it. So, and also thank you all for joining us today. And this is our second session. So thank you very much for, coming aboard so late in the hours. And I know that you probably had a full day. So we would like to actually keep it interactive. So I really want to make sure that, we keep it interactive so that you can share, your input, you can ask questions, because ultimately we are here to serve you and to provide value for you. With regards to Randi, and this is just, my testimonial, with regards to the clients that I'm sending to her, they're raving about her. So she is giving so much value herself as well as a realtor. And you probably know her from her conferences and the book deals and whatever else. And anyways, so there's definitely a love relationship, I can tell you that much. Okay, good.
Thank you, Bella.
So you're welcome. Okay, so what I like to do, I like to just chime in, as Randi said, that we never know what the future brings with regards to, she specifically meant it with the real estate, but let's just look at what we can do about the future. Okay, so I have some lovely slides, but we are not just going by the slides, we are also going to talk and have a dialogue here. So I happen to have not just my master's in adult education and all my financial licenses, such as investment, insurance, and real estate. Although for real estate, we are not in any shape or form competitors with Randi, because my license is sparked. I literally just got it to understand the market, because it is an extremely viable investment opportunity and people should know about it. And also the implications for taxation with regards to that. But I also have completed my coaching certification with the Bob Proctor program, which is all about the law of attraction. So that's why I like to really bring in, a little bit of a mindset training when we talk about finances, because, everything starts here, all of it. Okay. All right. So here we go. So just as Randi said, we don't know about the future, but we know one thing: the future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. So just really, really make sure that whatever is your goal, your ultimate goal, you hold on to it and you actually paint it crystal clear. Just like with the GPS absolutely requires you to put in an exact address to actually get you there. The same way you will need to start having a very clear definition of where you want to be. And, if you're open for it, then, we can sit together and explore your opportunities, how to actually get there faster. And both Randi and I have a very large network, and we are all in it to help each other as a whole, because I firmly believe that when you are in the business of helping others, helping humanity, and many of us are doing the same approach, then you as the client, the customer, the business party is able to actually get there much sooner. And together we can create even more good. All right. So let's just look at in terms of, because Randi was kind enough to show some of the stats with regards to real estate. So let's just look at it, what brought us into the situation where we were, back in 2017, 2018, and then again, where we are right now with COVID. And we are actually going to talk about as well, not only what the government is giving you as opportunities, during the COVID situation, but also how you can help your own business to revamp it now, also for the future. Because if you thought that, once the lockdown is done, we are going back to normal, I have bad news for you. There will be a different normal. So it will not be the same as what we knew before. And we just really want to make sure that everyone is really prepared and is able to actually get out of this as winners. All right. So basically everybody remembers what happened in 2008, right? I don't see any faces. I don't know why. Like if you guys can turn on the cameras, that would be so much helpful, because then I would feel that I'm speaking to people and not just icons and names. I don't know if that would be an option, please. Some of you I actually know. So what happened in 2008, and let's just really dissect it for a mere moment, why the markets crashed, just because the housing bubble in the US crashed. What happened was, prior to all of this, when a lending institution was, thank you so much, Karen, you're the first one whose beautiful face I can see. Awesome. Very good. So, thank you, Randy. You have dinner. Enjoy. So, when someone was taking a loan for, either it's, HELOC or mortgage or whatever, something that was longer term, then, the lending institution knew that, it's a longer term loan and, they are getting a certain interest and they are getting it back over a certain period of time. But then what they realized is that because people started refinancing it, and anyways, it's a long-term loan, how can they capitalize on it and how they can actually make even more money on it? So basically what they've done, they cut up these mortgages into so-called mortgage-backed securities, like investment packages, because they resold it. So now they became part of anyone's portfolio in mutual funds. So the interesting thing is that as the housing bubble bursted and the housing market crashed, that's why the investment world went down as well back in 2008. So I just really wanted to bring it down to correlate as to why something happened in such a large scale. And of course, just to correct things, the interest rates went down subsequently, literally below 1%. So therefore, it was an extremely futile environment for investing in real estate. Why? Because borrowing became so cheap. It was dirt cheap. When you're around 1%, I mean, how can you go wrong? The only challenge is that when you keep the interest rates low for 10 years, then there are certain other things that started to happen. People started over leveraging themselves. So now, as the central bank, the Bank of Canada started to raise the interest rates, and there were 5 hikes between 17 and 18, suddenly the cost of borrowing became more expensive for everyone. So what was the consequence? Let's look at this. The average Toronto household already had $466,000 debt. Now, considering that the average income for most people is like 50, 60,000 and so on, this is obviously a severe over leveraging, right? And you guys can actually see the breakdown, what part is mortgage, what part is home equity, but then the rest was really, line of credit and car loan and credit card and everything else. So now, as the interest rate on the loan started, well, not just on the loan, and everything actually started to rise, so did the cost of borrowing. The problem is that people were literally paying everything that they had for their lifestyle. So literally 1/5 of the population had no more money to pay more. Another approximately 1/5 had an extra $50 and another fifth, $100. And that's, in the grand scheme of things, is really not much, right? So what people started to do, they started to go into the credit card trap, meaning they started to actually purchase stuff on credit, or money that they don't have. Why is it extremely dangerous? Because credit cards typically start at, most credit cards start at like 19.99%, so really like 20% interest rate. So if you're really bringing it into perspective, let's say you borrow $10,000, out of it, $2,000 is just interest. That's a lot of money. And then of course there are, depending on your credit rating, some credit cards are as high as like 30% interest. So that's extremely high. Now, the way I work with my clients is really making sure that we look at the cash flow situation and how we can optimize it. And I know that Joyce, you asked a few questions before the session. So when you're asking what is better, bankruptcy or consumer proposal, the answer is quite frankly neither, because as long as we are able to have negotiations with the institutions that were lending you money, whether it's even just a phone company or the credit card company or whatever else, they're actually open to negotiations. And many times they're actually even open to release some of the debt because they rather want to have something back from you than nothing. Bankruptcy, obviously, they don't see anything, right? The consumer proposal, the problem is that you are now forced to pay the money back, but yet it's still tarnishing your credit record for the next 7 years. So it's really not helping you as a consumer either. So the best thing, honestly, is when I work with my clients and it turns out that, budgeting and credit situation is an issue, is to really, go through, okay, what is it that you owe? What is your current cash flow? How can we allocate certain amounts? Call these guys and start talking to them and tell them exactly what you're intending to do. And if your intention is paying every single month $50 down on that one particular bill, and that's what you're vocalizing them, that's when you write to them, and now you're committed and you do it. And I'm telling you, most of them will actually budge, and most of them will say, yes, let's do it, because they want to see their money. Okay? So I hope that answers your question. Okay? With regards to, I specialize actually in business owners, and I believe most of you on this call are probably self-employed, I take. And even if you are not, probably you still find valuable the information that I'm sharing because it's universal. But let's just bring something down as to why even in the current COVID situation, the government is actually providing support to businesses, which normally they don't do at all, right? Did you ever try to just ask for anything from the government? And what are they telling you? Oh, you are already not paying enough taxes, of course I'm not giving you anything. But here's the thing. If you really look at it, 98% of the Canadian businesses have less than 100 employees. What does it mean? They are actually small businesses. So Canada's economy is built on small to mid-sized businesses. So when they are going belly up, what will happen with the entire economy? So that's why they had to come out with certain solutions. The first thing was a CERB, and we are going to talk about it in a mere moment. But let's just touch base on this. So the government announced basically that as of April, each and every one of you are eligible for the Canada Emergency Response Benefit, which is in short the CERB, which provides up to $2,000 every 4 weeks. And initially they wanted to have this benefit till July, but now they actually extended it till August. So if you haven't applied for it for whatever reason, please seriously consider it, because this is something that you are eligible for. And even if you have a minimal income up to $1,000 a month, because your business is kind of like still trickling a little bit, you still qualify for it. So it's okay to apply for it. That's number one. Number two, if you need to take a loan from your financial institution to keep your business afloat, all of the big 5 banks offer a solution. So I can specifically talk to RBC because, I'm working under the RBC umbrella, even though I'm independent. For instance, what RBC is doing for the business clients, you can literally apply up to $40,000 business loan, and it's at 0 interest. So it's, so to say, free money. Yes, you have to give it back, but it doesn't cost you per se. There's no cost of borrowing involved. And as long as you are paying back 75% of that money by the end of next year, they actually forgive you the rest of the 25%, which is $10,000. I think that's a pretty decent deal. So even if you're not with RBC, but let's say with TD, Scotia, BMO, whatever, speak to them and ask about what they offer to you, because I know that the CERB it's good that you have, but I mean it's really not necessarily paying the mortgage and puts food on the table and everything else that is happening. So in case you need help, make sure that you're speaking to your financial institution. Okay. So and those of you who have brick and mortar businesses and you have let's say a rent involved, okay, that's a little bit of a gray zone, but still speak with your landlord, because the government has committed that they are supporting them by up to 50% of what the rent would be, so they are actually getting it. You only would need to pay 25%. So from that perspective, the commercial landlord is only out of pocket 25%, which they probably will be easily writing off, when they do their taxes. But at least this way, everyone can win. Now, the government is not forcing the commercial landlords to do this, so this is an option, and some of them will just not wanting to do it. So that's unfortunate, but there are those who are willing to go the extra mile and help, and really they want to make sure that they have a long-term relationship and a good relationship with their tenants. So if you are in that too, just make sure that you speak with them as well. All right, so let's go to the next slide. So this has something to do with budgeting as well. And now it's even more important than before, because I know that, the income in many of the businesses is suffering. So let's talk about it, okay? When I do the budgeting exercise with my clients, we start obviously with the largest one, which is mortgage or rent, and then go down the list, utilities, food, and so on. So interesting enough, by the time we come to the question, how much do you put aside for savings? Most people say, I don't have anything left. And the interesting thing is that really out of all of these things, you are the most important component. Hands down, you are the most important component. And none of this would be working without you. And so interesting enough, many hundred years ago, in the old feudal system, people needed to pay 10% for their feudal landlords, 10% to their church, and so on and so on. And then they budgeted from whatever was remaining for them. So if that was possible at those days, then we should be looking at, okay, are we ourselves worth to put 10% aside for ourselves and budget from the remaining 90%? Now, some people say, oh, wow, that's a big goal. So I always tell my clients, you know what, why don't you start with something that is as small as just $50 a month? Like if you can see yourself doing the 10%, start with $50. And I'm telling you, psychologically, it will absolutely help you when you start seeing that that money is growing, number one. Number two, convincing yourself that this is actually possible. And then you actually find ways to do more. And I can certainly help with that as well. Also, when you have different loan instruments, such as mortgage, line of credit, home equity line of credit, business loan, student loan, name it, we need to be cognizant about the interest rates. Absolutely, we have to be cognizant about it. And if you have large credit card loads, I really hate to tell you, but that's not something how you move ahead in life, because quite frankly, as we discussed earlier, the cost of borrowing is way too expensive. 20 to 30% as a cost of borrowing is not something that is feasible, and so that you are able to, pay off. And I know that many people are getting panicky about the mortgage and they want to pay off their mortgage because it's such a large amount. But when you have a mortgage that is, let's say having an interest rate anywhere between 2 to 4%, the cost of borrowing is extremely low. Versus if you have a credit card that is maybe just 40,000, but it has a 25% interest rate on it, that becomes something that is suffocating you and is unable to help you to, to actually save for yourself and do everything. So that's the time when I recommend, okay, how are we going to leverage maybe some equity in your home and refinance your mortgage or put a HELOC on it or whatever else. This is when I actually start working with my mortgage broker partners, because we need to find out of the box solutions to free up cash for the people and start a holistic solution in terms of, yes, your loans are paying off, this is the route that we are going to go, and at the same time now you free up cash, so you actually start taking care of yourself as well. So this is, this needs to be a multifaceted approach. Another thing as well that I'm recommending my clients is checking their credit score. So everyone should be checking their credit score at least once a year. And this is a soft check. So this is not going to, really mess up your overall credit score. And there's even an app called Mogo, M-O-G-O, that you can just simply install on your smartphone. But because it's a free app, just make sure that you turn off all of the notifications other than the monthly credit score monitoring, because this way, if there is something that is a sudden change and you know that it has nothing to do with you, meaning you didn't buy a new car, you didn't, buy a new home with a new mortgage or something else, then at least immediately you're able to take action on it because I've met people who were victims of fraud, identity fraud. So I think that's in your own best interest to make sure that you have an active monitoring involved and you are involved in getting it up. Also, there are certain tips and tricks in terms of how you can improve your credit score within a certain period of time. So even if, let's say, your credit score is in the mid 400s, literally within a year, we can absolutely bring it up into the mid 700s, and there's a strategy to it. So if your goal is to actually buy your property, and right now you just can't see to being able to afford it, talk to me, and then we will be able to put a strategy together how you can actually improve your credit score. And I can tell you right now, there will be probably a mortgage broker also involved to help you with this and plan. Right. So let's go to the next. So let's talk about the federal support. So everyone is self-employed in this group. Everyone is nodding, and those that I don't see, I just take that you are. Okay, so let's not worry about EI at this point. So we already talked about the SERV, which is the $2,000, so that's fine. Something else, so those of you who have not filed the taxes yet, please make sure that you are doing it by June 1st. So that's the new deadline. And the good news story is that even if you owe tax repayment, you actually have up until August 31st to pay it. So you don't have to panic. Oh my God, I don't have the money and whatever else. It's all good. Like, file the taxes, and then in case you owe it, you have up until August 31st to pay it. And in case you need to find the money, talk to me, and then we can kind of like figure it out, how you're doing it. On that note, honestly, if you're self-employed, the best thing you can do is not only putting money aside for yourself, but putting also money aside specifically for taxes, including the HST situation if you need to file HST. Okay, so try to get into the habit of doing it on a regular basis. It's much easier than at the end of the year to try to scramble and find things. Oh, thank you very much, Melina. I appreciate it. That's very sweet of you. Okay, good comment. I'm just reading it. Okay, something else as well for GST credit. Early May, I hope that you have already received the $400 if you're individual, and if you're couple, then it's $600. With regards to the mortgage payment, so in case you actually have mortgage, and this is not just for your primary residence, but also so with regards to the frontline workers, actually don't go to the Ontario.ca. Sorry, Shama is asking a question on the chat. Don't go on the Ontario.ca webpage, but rather on the Canada.ca, because that's what's updated on the federal level in terms of finding out what kind of support there is. And something else, the reason why I personally like the Canada.ca webpage versus looking at CBC or looking at Facebook or whatever else is out there, because it's coming directly from the source. So you want to make sure that you get your information directly from the source and not some sort of an interpretation. On that note, I'm actually quite big on putting up-to-date information on social media, because I have a large follower base, and I want to make sure that they are getting up-to-date information on there as well. And there are some additional plans that True is talking about, that they want to implement it, but they haven't finalized it. So just check out that website. Okay, so we talked about mortgage payments. So if you have a mortgage, so let me explain you how that works. If you have a mortgage, but you are scrambling a little bit right now to pay it, most lending institutions, and especially the Big Five, agreed that they want to help. So you can actually defer your mortgage up to 6 months before you start paying it again. I need to caution you though, you really only do it if you have to do it. And the reason being is this: when you're not paying the mortgage, the interest is still continuing to accrue. So you will be responsible for paying those once you start, paying it back. And also it needs to be still a discussion with, the lending institution. Okay, am I gonna needing to pay a higher amount just to catch up in terms of the mortgage payments, or how are you going to do it? So it's a matter of discussion, but if you need to do it, just please do it. And it's not just for the primary residence, it's also for other investment properties, especially because right now the Residential Tenancy Act as such with regards to evicting tenants is non-existent, based on, you know, the new announcements that, you know, if they walk away from paying the rent because they can't afford it, you basically as the landlord are pretty much on dry land. Like, wait a second, you still have to pay your mortgage. So that's why make sure that you speak with your lending institution, okay? Because at the end of the day, you cannot be possibly penalized because you are a real estate investor and your tenant is not paying, okay? So next one, okay, we don't have to worry about employment insurance. We are good. Students, okay, so in case you have a student loan, you have a 6-month interest-free deferral. You know, those of you who have children that are under the age of 12, this is specifically for Ontario. This is the one thing that I got from the Ontario webpage. Per child, they gave an extra $200, other than that the federal government also boosted, you know, their program. And with regards to seniors, what happens is, and we will be talking about investments a little bit later in this session, but for the retirement income fund, there's normally a mandatory minimum withdrawal, but then they need to pay taxes. So right now the government said that they are skipping that minimum. So if you don't want to take it out, you don't have to take it out. You don't have to worry about that. As well as with regards to the utility bills. So thank God the utility bills went down in terms of the electricity cost. And in case you need to drive, I'm sure you noticed that, you know, gas is dirt cheap. It hasn't been this cheap for a long time. It's almost like, you know, we are in quarantine and we are not driving too much, so, you know, they can lower the price. It's similar like giving a comb to a bald man, but, you know, this is just the joke of the day. But anyway, so if you do need to drive, then just take advantage of the low cost as well. So that's pretty much about it. And with regards to for businesses, again, so we already talked about it, that you can defer the filing till August 31st. So specifically if you are on, let's say, incorporated, or we are filing it as a business, okay? All right, I saw that there are a few questions, so let me check the chat, just 1 second. Very good. You guys love each other. I love it that you guys love each other, because we all should be, you know, operating from love. Very nice. Okay, very good. So we will be talking about so any questions on this, or everything is good with regards to the government support and what you can and should utilize, and taking into consideration the financial institutions? All is good? Great, very good. So let's talk about for yourself with regards to wealth creation principles, okay? And this is going to be a little bit of a mindset coaching, okay? So warning, I'm a very unusual financial doctor. So here you go. Here you go. You can never get to your goal. And I know that we talked about it before, that you actually have to set a goal. The funny thing is, you actually have to come from your goal. What do I mean with that? Okay, so we all think on frequencies. And you probably heard that everything is energy. And really, everything is energy, and everything is constantly vibrating. So let me just explain it through an analogy. So let's assume for a mere moment that, you know, you really want to zen out and you're listening to 96.3 FM, which is a classical channel, and it's really nice and it's awesome, and it's actually one of my favorites. But if that's what you're listening to, are you actually able to hear maybe 91.1, which is the jazz, or 105.9, which is a region, or anything else? No, absolutely not. Like, once you're dialed in into a certain frequency, then that's exactly the channel that you are getting. So that's why you need to actually raise your own goal in terms of what you want to achieve, because everything else is nothing else but a mirror reflection of everything else that has happened up until that point in your life. So those of you who know me for a number of years, you know that when you see me now, you're wondering, okay, some of her parts are missing. Yeah, so I actually have lost about 50 pounds in the past 2.5 months. And quite frankly, before that time, that larger version of me was also the mirror reflection of getting there. You can't just gain, I don't know how much, instantaneously. It's also, you know, a process, just like it's a process to lose it. So I'm just talking about, you know, health goal, but everything else. So if you look at your finances and if you look at your bank accounts, what you see is not the reflection of your potential and what's in it for you. It's merely a reflection of what you have done up until that point. Once you set your mind in terms of where you want to be, you immediately go into the mode of the how. How are you going to get there? And as soon as you get into the how, suddenly ways are opening up for you. So let me give another analogy, okay? Let's assume for a mere moment you are feverishly searching for your phone and you can, for the love of God, find it. And of course, you set it on silent or even airplane mode, so you can't even, like, even if you call it, you don't find it, okay? And then you are panicking because, of course, all your calendar is in there, all your contact is in there, and so on, right? You are running around in your home, you're trying to find it, and you still don't find it. Up until at one point, you finally calm down and you change your own mindset of the lack. Oh my God, I don't have it, I don't have it, I don't have it. You change that mindset and you're like, okay, wait a second. What do I need to do? Like, you suddenly go into the how. Okay, so if I don't find it, what else am I going to do? Right? So now you are going into plan B. Interesting enough, I bet that that's the time when you probably find a phone that might have been on your kitchen table and you actually walked by it 5 times while you were looking feverishly for it. Even though your eyes, your retina saw it, but it didn't go into your brain didn't register it simply because you blocked it out with the fear. And I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, this is exactly what I saw during this COVID period, that many people operated from lack and many people operated from fear. The problem is that fear is never a good advisor. Okay? So that's why we need to really focus on the big picture and look at it how we can get there. I give you a homework, and this is just something that you might want to do for yourself. There won't be no accountability. We will not, you know, call you and ask you, like, have you done it? This is really just for you, so that you have something that is a takeaway for you. Pick 3 aspects of your life, and it can be really anything. It can be, you know, your career, it can be your profession, it can be your professional development, it can be your health, finances, like personal relationships, doesn't matter. Pick 3 aspects of your life, 3, and just write down what happens if you do everything exactly as you do it right now. What will happen in the future? Versus if you change something in that, where does it bring you? I personally can highly recommend the book that is called The Slight Edge, because that's exactly what it's talking about, that every single time we have at least 2 options in every aspect of our life that we can choose which road you're going. And then again, you go to another, you know, road, and you can always change. So many times when you have a goal, it's not like the German Autobahn that you're going in this straight thing. And sometimes you have to do the scenic route. But at the end of the day, just like the GPS is going to change sometimes the route on you because there's a construction involved, there's an accident, whatever else, as long as you have a set goal, you will be able to get there. Okay? Now, we talked about the energy thing, and we know that Albert Einstein actually is a Nobel Prize winner, specifically for physics. So we have to believe him when he says that everything is energy, and that's all there is to it. Match the frequency of the reality you want, and you cannot help but get that reality. It can be no other way. This is not philosophy. This is physics. And I need to be very cognizant about when I talk about reality, and I need to make sure that I'm making myself clear as well. Yes, we all live in the same 3D worlds, okay? However, my reality is different from Randy's, and it's different from Joyce, and it's different from Karen's, and so on. And that's all good, because we all were born into this to help humanity and to help with love and provide gratitude and provide service. So as long as you operate from that frequency, you actually are not in competition with each other, but we are in collaboration with each other, and we can help as a whole together for others to catapult where they need to be. And I'm telling you one thing, the reason why I happen to be and enjoying, as much success as I am, with my chosen field, which is, the financial services, is because that's how I operate. And I'm telling you that the referrals that are coming back to me are the testimonials of the joy that is created, and I can see how people are propelling and excelling. So for instance, RBC gave me 12 new hires back in 2018 in May, and they gave me free hands to do with them whatever I want. And I said, you know what, there's no way I'm gonna train them on products or procedures or whatever else. Let's have them with the mindset. And I'm telling you, within 60 days, they increased their profitability by 338%. And it was just unprecedented. And there was no product push, no nothing. It just really finally listening to the clients, what is it that they need, and connecting them and help. And that's exactly how I work with the business owners as well. So, if you have your own business and you operate from the same frequency, I'm telling you that you will grow. You cannot help but grow. Okay. With regards to your goals, and we talked about it, did you just pick 3? Okay. As long as you have that goal as a burning desire, which is a C-type goal, then all you have to do is reverse engineer your action. So let's talk about the 3 type of goals, because before we rush into this, I want to make sure that we are clear on that as well. So an A-type goal would be something that you know exactly how to do, and you don't have to really stretch yourself. So let's assume for a moment, I'm just giving an example, you are in sales, okay? And you know that your closing ratio is, let's say, 30%. So if you want to make, let's say, 3 sales that day, then you know that you need to actually speak at least with 9 people just to get there. Now, again, if okay, so just to actually being able to speak with those 9 people, either through the phone, through Zoom, or in person, in the future when the lockdown is down, then again, okay, maybe you need to call that many people just to book that in-person appointment. So you already know the mechanism how to get there. So this is not going to really stretch you. It's just a very mechanical thing, breaking it down how to get there. B type of goal is something where you know that you need to do that in order to advance. So let's assume for a mere moment, you are really interested in understanding more about, mortgages and how you can perhaps, help clients to do that and so on. And later you can actually get a mortgage agent, course completed in 2 weeks. Okay. So if that's what you want to do, then that's what you have to do, and you do it. Now, mind you will not become an expert. So, but at least, that's the first step that you need to do. And then after that, obviously you need to learn more and go to reputable institutions and perhaps get someone who's mentoring you. But at least you know the steps to get there. Now, C type of goal, on the other hand, is something truly stretching. So that's something that requires you to change your thinking and requires you to go into the how. And it probably should be scaring you a little bit as well. It's just like, holy macros, like, what did I put myself into and how am I going to get there? But that is the thing that will motivate you big time. That will be motivating you. And quite frankly, it should never be simply something as simple as, yeah, I want to have $1 million. Because what's then? Like, what are you doing with that $1 million? Money, and this is coming from a financial person, money is nothing else but a medium of exchange. That's all I'm saying. The question is, what are you doing with that money? What are you doing with it? Do you actually want to buy real estate and grow it and then create a legacy, maybe for your family? Do you want to support a charity? Do you want to create maybe a business that is helping others? Like, find out what is it that you want to do with it. So it should not be just a simple goal as X amount of money, okay? When you have that burning desire, something that helps you to grow, write it down. And the reason why you want to write it down, because then the brain is actually believing it more when there is an actual movement involved with it, okay? Because then you're utilizing different neural pathways. And then once you have that goal and you have a time frame to it, let's assume you say, okay, I want to get to this goal in 5 years. Then break it down. Okay, so this is what I need to do in a year. This is what I need to do in a month, a week, a day. And I'm telling you, not every day will be the same at all. It would be way too boring if it would be, right? But the only thing that you can control are your actions. You cannot control time. Time is happening whether you do something or not, but you can control your actions. And as long as you control your actions and you analyze the outcome, then you're able to stir the ship and go into the how and accelerate. So far makes sense, everybody? I still only see two of the ladies nodding, and I appreciate that at least I can see the two of you. So thank you very much, Karen and Joyce. And the rest, I just believe that you are listening. I hope you do. All right. Okay. So before we go into the self-image screen, what I like to actually do, I like to really open this up, and I like to do a little game. I call it a game. What is this? Can you unmute yourself, please?
It's
Oh, my goodness.
$20.
It's $20. Excellent. Thank you very much.
Moolah.
How much is it worth?
Nothing if you don't have it in your hand.
Sweetheart, here. There you go. I'm trying to give it to you, but somehow this Zoom thing is not allowing.
Put it up to the camera.
There you go. There you go. Okay, no, but seriously, how much is it worth?
Oh, it's supposed to be worth $20.
Exactly. So whatever you can buy with it, right? You
Yes,
already
yes.
talked about it, that this is a minimum exchange, right? Okay, great.
Yes.
Now, let's assume for a mere moment that I'm putting this $20 in my drawer and I forget about it and I find it 3 years down the road.
Mhm.
So how much will it be worth at that time?
It may not be worth $20 at that time, but it could be worth more.
Well, inflation usually goes up.
Oh,
But
no, okay. Okay, I'm thinking interest here too, right?
oh, I love it. Okay, so
Yeah.
that's our next scenario.
Yeah,
Okay, good. So because of inflation, obviously, money is eroding. That's the problem, right? So this is where, Joyce's comment comes in. You actually have to invest it to earn interest or some sort of a growth. So
Mhm.
now if contrarily, I invest this money and it starts growing, then obviously, you are creating something more with it.
Mhm.
Now I'm gonna show something else. What if I scramble this, throw it down on the floor? I'm gonna become extremely vulgar and I spit on it and step on it. How much is it worth at that time?
The same.
It's
It's
still
just
worth $20. Exactly. Now in
money.
the COVID situation, you certainly don't want to touch something that was spit on. But regardless, in theory, it's still worth $20.
Mhm.
This is where I really need to bring this down into our own self-worth. Remember, the first scenario was it's worth $20. It is what it is, right?
Mhm.
Then we forgot about it. We didn't invest in it and we didn't do anything about it. And I'm telling you right now, if you had just a brick and mortar business and you did not utilize all these 2 months or 2.5 months to either invest in yourself, educate yourself in terms of being able to bring more value to your customers, or
Mhm.
change your business model into something more online based and so on, I really hate to tell you, but you are actually losing out. So you still have time to catch up, but please start it now. Start it
Mhm.
now, because you must invest in yourself and in your business to not only maintain the value for your clients, but actually grow it, okay? Just like when you needed to invest in the money. And lastly, quite frankly, when someone tries to put you down, just like the money is down in the dirt, in the mud,
Mhm.
that's their perspective, that's not yours. Your value
Exactly.
is unchanged.
Yes.
So just keep that in mind and don't steer off from whatever is your goal. Get there,
Okay.
make
Okay.
a difference, and for humanity. Okay, sounds good?
Okay. Thank you.
Very good. You're welcome. Okay, so it looks like that, was it Randy, you put it in? Okay, so Joyce asked the question. I don't have a newsletter. However, I provide snippets of information on social media, but what I absolutely invite everyone to do, connect with me. I put my contact information in the chat, and please befriend me also on Facebook and so on. And I'm absolutely happy to book, virtual coffee dates with you. And then once we are finally able to have a proper hug party, then we hug and we meet and we have proper, coffee dates. And let's see, how we can maybe even collaborate and work together. Okay, because I'm big on it and I love doing it. Okay. All right, so let me share my screen again. Let's just continue with this. But I thought that this was an important discussion to have, and I hope that you find value in this. Okay. Sorry, let's just go down to that slide where we need to be. All right. So the reason why we had this little excursion on the $20/self-image, because even if you have large goals, but you don't have that self-love, you don't have that proper self-image of yourself, unfortunately, there's no way that you can get there, because it sets a boundary for yourself, both on the personal and the professional level, okay? And so a poor self-image, quite frankly, is putting you into a lower vibration, and it just not allowing you to get your dream goal. And I really need to say something about it, because I'm just as much human as you all, and we all have setbacks in life. And quite frankly, just make sure that when you have those setbacks, you don't look at it as failures, because failure would be if you would not be standing up anymore. It's just like, those of you who either have children or have seen other little children growing up, you know that a little baby, when they finally start walking, they fall, and they fall all the time. Imagine they fall once, they fall twice, they fall for the third time, and they say, yeah, it's not for me. I'm sorry, I won't be able to walk. This is not how we operate. We actually have it in our DNA that we want to succeed. And no matter how many times they fall, we walk again. We stand up and we walk again. Okay, so it's in our DNA. So you owe it to yourself to do it. Okay, and I just really want to do a shout out to two people who are on here right now. Number one is Randi, and the other one is Ibi, because you guys have been absolutely phenomenal and amazing the last 2 weeks. I had my setback, and guess what? I rebound. Because the funny thing is that as long as you operate from love and from gratitude, you raise your own vibrations. So love is coming from within, and love shouldn't be you shouldn't be finding it from outside. It should be coming from the internal source. And and sometimes you do need help, from friends for support. But other than that, it's awesome. And once you're finally reborn, yes, you can change the world. So from that perspective,
Totally.
it's not, sorry?
Totally.
Thank you. So it's not who you are that holds you back, but who you think that, who you are thinking that you are not. So just keep that in mind. These two people, Tony Robbins and Bob Proctor, are both talking about decisions. And that's why it's so important to actually make a decision. And no matter what decision you're making, there are no mistakes, honestly, in life. There are just learning experiences. And it's all good. And remember, as you go, you make different decisions. So it's not a highway, it's not an autobahn. It's all good. You will get there. But I just look at how Tony is phrasing this. At any moment, the decision you make can change the course of your life forever. Absolutely. It totally can. But at the same time, why is that? Because when you do make a decision, you flip your brain onto a different frequency. And now you begin to attract what's on that frequency. Similarly, when we had this little example of the cell phone, not being able to find it, I'm telling you, once you have a large goal, you will find the ways to actually get there. It's impressive. And if your goal is in terms of building up the finances and being able to start investing in multiple properties and create that type of legacy, talk to me, talk to a mortgage broker, talk to Randy, talk to any of us, because we will actually help you to find those avenues to actually get you there. Okay, very good. So that's on the mindset component. So let's just bring it down to the actual mechanical part, how to truly get and create that legacy and that wealth. So we already touched based on, and these are the two most common suspects in terms of how to create the wealth with certain savings vehicles. Obviously, it's a no-brainer to do investments, and we will be actually going into the details in the following slides. Everybody knows about them. And thank God, that in Canada, real estate investment is also something that is gaining popularity and people understand the value of it. But definitely real estate is something that should be considered because not only real estate over time is going up in value, but also, in normal scenario, when you are able to actually rent it out for something that is higher in cash flow than just the mortgage payment, the property taxes, and potential maintenance, you are actually creating positive cash flow. So from that perspective, you are able to start investing more. Now, what is a little bit less known is that there are even insurance products out there that you can actually create tremendous amount of cash flow with, and we will be talking about it today. Okay. The fourth pillar of the true wealth creation is actually other sources of residual income, such as, let's say you have a company and now you have employees who are working for you. Remember, we all only have 24 hours. So that means that at one point there will be a max of what we personally can do. So when we are able to leverage our time, that's when you're truly moving ahead. So either you have your own company and you have your employees, or there are network marketing companies as well that operate on the same principle. Or let's say, you are in the business of writing a book and then you are getting royalties, or you're in the business of music and you're getting royalties, or whatever it is. Or maybe you are having the engineering mind and you are actually coming up with something that you're patents, and then, you're getting income from the patents. So I'm just giving you some scenarios, whatever is your fancy, and something that is interesting to you. Just explore the opportunities, because I'm telling you one thing, if you're only doing one out of these four, you're absolutely missing out and you're not diversifying your opportunities enough. You really should be standing on multiple legs because then at that point, no matter what comes your way, whether it was COVID, whether it's anything else, you're good. You really are good, and you are set, and you are having money flowing your way even while you are sleeping. Okay, sounds good? Very good. Okay, sorry, I want to go forward, not backwards. Okay, here we go. So let's talk about the savings vehicles. Okay, wait a second, we have another chat. Just one sec. Very good. Evie shared her information. Fantastic. Awesome. We are the best. You are the best as well. Look, here, come in water. All right. Okay, so let's talk about the savings vehicles, okay? And I like to really keep it interactive, so I want to make sure that you ladies are talking. I don't know if you lost the one gentleman that we had here. We did. It's too bad. That's okay. So ladies rule. It's all good. Okay. So let's talk about RSPs first. Who would like to share what they think RSPs are or how they work? Everyone is on mute, so I need someone to unmute themselves and start talking to me. Karen, you're smiling so nicely. You are having the floor. Unmute yourself.
I think that they have their purpose. I think that, I use them in the real estate world more for self-directed, and then using them to invest. It's not private, but outside of the typical mutual funds. Yeah.
Very good. How do they work? Like, what is the concept behind them?
So you can use them either to do private mortgages, basically, within your 401 or so. Sorry, I'm talking US. I don't know why I'm speaking US mind. So you can use them.
401ks, yeah, I know.
Yeah, that's where
I've been handling them as well.
I don't know why. Yeah, so you could use them. So use your sorry, I'm getting tired. Use your RSP to invest in real estate. Use that money to invest like a private mortgage. You're secured. You're going to have a better return within your RSP, and it's secured with real estate. So that's how I believe they work. Best, not that that's how they work, but when I was younger, I got pooled into investing into a bunch of mutual funds that didn't make me any money, a lot of waste of time. So I've gone with different ventures and yeah.
Okay, awesome. So we are running a little bit ahead because now we are talking about the fuel, what you're putting in an RSP, and definitely these private mortgage deals like second mortgages and whatever else are definitely, you know, with the self-directed option is definitely fun. And thank you so much for sharing that, Karen. Appreciate it. Let's look at the mechanics though in terms of how RSPs are functioning because it's important to understand. So if you guys are, you know, self-employed, it might not be the best savings vehicle for you. And I'm going to tell you why. Because while the money that is in there, you know, whatever fuel you're using, and Karen was just talking about, for instance, the self-directed account for, you know, private mortgages, but it can be anything else. She also talked about mutual funds and everything else. So we talk about it in a mere moment. But whatever is the so-called money that is in, you know, growing in this bucket or in this vehicle, okay, it's going tax deferred. What does that mean? As it grows, you don't need to pay taxes on it. Not only that, but as you put money into this vehicle, that lowers your current tax rate potentially. And however, the problem is that the problem is that when you access it, it's considered income. So now you have to pay taxes. So those of you who are self-employed, I really hope that you have very good accountants and they're able to write off a lot of things. So therefore, hopefully you're not paying too much taxes. Because I hate to tell you, as soon as your income reaches $220,000, in Ontario, the highest tax rate is 53.53%. That's a much too much, my appetite. And you know, even if you just make 100,000, it's still 43.41%. So we are paying a lot of taxes. So now imagine right now, while you're working actively, you're able to write off a lot of things. So you are in a relatively low tax bracket. But now in so-called retirement, so once you no longer need to, you know, wake up and work, and you're living from your residual income, maybe investments will be part of it. If you really don't have too much to write off, then you might end up in a higher tax bracket. And remember, whatever you're pulling from an RSP is considered income, so you need to actually pay taxes on it. So my best recommendation before you start an RSP, speak with your accountant first, so that this is even something that they would recommend to you. And if they do, then they can actually give you an estimation in terms of how much they recommend to put in. Now, the room that you're not using is just to be carried forward, and you can always catch up later as well. So that's a good thing. Something else, in the year when you are turning 71, you must convert it into a RIF, which is a retirement income fund. And from that point on, the government regulates in terms of how much you must withdraw each and every year, because at one point they want to see taxes. Not only that, but let's assume for a mere moment that you have a legally married spouse. And I'm not talking about common law partners, because unfortunately it doesn't work with common law partners, only legally married spouses. So if the one spouse is dying, or sorry, passing away, then whatever is in the RSP or RSP-like instruments, such as LIRA, which is a locked-in account, or RIF, is automatically transferring over or rolling over to the spouse. The problem is that once now the second person is passing as well, and it is ought to go down to the next generation, the people that you truly love, your children. Problem is that in the final tax return, whatever amount was unused and still sitting in an RSP or RSP-like instrument, as we mentioned, LIRA or RIF, is considered income in that year. So imagine if you're still having, let's say, $200,000 like this, and plus you made an additional, let's say, $20,000 income, that automatically propel you into the 53.53% tax bracket. So more than half of that money is going to pay for federal taxes. That's pretty brutal. So again, you know, before you do an RSP strategy, and it can be a good strategy, please speak with your accountant. And the moral of the story is that once you are in that retirement stage, this is the first bucket you want to use up. Let's talk about the second bucket. TFSAs. Who would like to share what they understand about TFSAs? Someone else this time. Melina, would you like to share? I don't want to put you on the spot, so if not, it's cool with me. So let's see who else is still on. Shama, you are still on. How does a TFSA work? You don't want to say? Okay, it's all good. All right. So Joyce, I'm sorry. It looks like that you will need to talk to me. Oops, I don't want to share.
I just wanted to ask something regarding the RRSP. When I speak with clients about finding money for a down payment, I ask them if they have any RRSPs, TFSAs, if they have any other mutual funds or investments that they can draw their money from to create this down payment, because sometimes they only think, well, I got $20,000 in the bank, and they don't think about their RRSPs or their tax-free savings accounts. Well, for the first time, this was new to me, someone mentioned insurance. So I'm very interested to find out what you have to tell me about people drawing from insurance so that they can utilize it for a down payment, because I had not, no one's told me this before. So I'm very interested in that. However, I do tell people if they pull out money from their RRSP, that they have 15 years with which to pay it back. And if they don't pay it back within the 15 years, they have to consider it as taxable income and they get taxed on it. So is it the full amount that they get taxed on, or just the amount that is left unpaid back to the RRSP?
So my understanding is the remaining balance that they did not pay back.
Okay.
Not only that, but the problem is that it only works for first-time home buyers.
Yes.
So if someone already did the first time and now they're pulling again, the problem is the penalty taxes. So it's not only the regular income tax that applies, but also the penalty tax. And in Ontario, I just really want to bring it down so that you ladies understand what we are talking about, how bad the penalty taxes are.
Yes.
It's actually 30%. So let's say you need to take out $15,000, meaning 15,000. 5,000 alone is going to be the penalty tax on it. So it's brutal.
Okay.
So honestly, RSPs should be rather considered a long-term investment than anything else. It's not your piggy bank for sure.
No,
But
no,
for
okay.
this input. Is someone want to say something about TFSAs, or shall I take the podium?
I also recommend them drawing funds from the tax-free savings account because it is considered income.
Absolutely. Okay, very good. So that's a good good topic to chime into. So you're bang on, Joyce. So when someone is investing in a TFSA, there's a room for it, and as long as you were 18 years old in 2009, then your total cumulative room is 69,500 up until now. So the way it works, if someone turns 18 in any given year, then whatever is the room for that year, they can utilize the full room. So even if let's say your birthday is December 15th in 2020, but that's the year now when you're turning 18, then for the entire year, the room was $6,000 and you can actually start putting it in. It's fine, okay? Also, the room is carried forward. So if you have not utilized this savings vehicle to the full, then don't worry about it. You can always catch up and it's all good. Also, just as Joyce said, because it's tax-free is the keyword, so it's not considered income when you pull out of it. It's not taxable. This is why you can utilize it as a short, mid, or long-term savings strategy. And to be quite honest with you, especially with business owners, this would be my very first advice to start if you have not started some sort of a saving strategy. Okay, so that's pretty much a no-brainer. Then we have the non-registered accounts. I really like non-registered accounts, and let me bring it down what that means. RSPs and TFSs are registered because the government is regulating the rules around taxation as well as the limits as to how much you can plug in. A non-registered account does not have that type of cap, okay, in terms of how much you can plug in. If you, for instance, just simply have a checking account or a savings account in a bank, that is a non-registered account. So that's what it is. You can have a self-directed account. You can have, let's say, specifically, buying just stocks with a self-directed. Those are all, non-registered accounts. Now, if you're earning interest, the problem is that when you're earning interest, you're getting a T5, so you actually have to pay taxes on it as income, which I personally think is ridiculous, because especially if you have a very small interest on a savings account, and then you even have to declare it and pay taxes on it, that's just really put things into perspective, I guess, right? So when you are rather having capital gain situation, that's a much better place to be. You are getting a T3 at the end of the year, but you don't actually have to file it in the same year. So especially when you are a business owner, if you have a good accountant, then they're able to find ways for you to write things off from your taxes to optimize them. So anything that is legal, obviously, okay? But if you don't, let me know, and then I can connect you with really good accountants that I like to work with. So for instance, now when you have a capital loss, let's say, because of your business, or sometimes you can actually have the same scenario in real estate as well, or there are other avenues that you're encountering, let's say, capital loss. Let's say now you have a capital gain with your investment. That's the time you want to file it, because the minus and the plus, what is going to be your tax obligation, big fat zero. So that's actually a beautiful tax strategy as well. That you want to utilize. And again, this can be a short, middle, long-term savings strategy. And, we are on a call where one of our beautiful hosts is a realtor. So we want to talk about that real estate is an absolutely viable savings vehicle, and you should be seriously considering it. The only thing, and this is really, really just something that I want to emphasize, and I meet a lot of clients who think, oh, my investment is free because the rent that I'm getting is covering the mortgage. And I'm like, okay, wait a second, who's paying for the property tax? Who's paying for maintenance and so on? So when you are considering buying an investment property, make sure that you are really taking all of these considerations into the aspect in terms of what you want to truly achieve, and speak with an experienced realtor such as Randi, because she will be able to find you the right property. Maybe your avenue is a duplex or a triplex, and maybe it's well outside of the GTA. Maybe it's actually close to the Niagara region. Maybe it's up in Barrie, whatever else. But you need to find something that is truly generating cash for you, if that's your goal. Okay. So just keep that in mind. Something else as well, when you sell that property, capital gain taxes will be due. So I'm actually really big on commercial real estate, and I love how you are able to utilize them in when it comes to taxes. So when you have an investment property, okay, whether it's residential or commercial, you have the option to write off capital cost allowance. That's a CCA. First year it's 4%, and then every subsequent year 2%. The problem with the residential thing is that, we know that real estate, and this is not just residential, it's everything, real estate price over time or value, I should say, is going up. So imagine you're writing off the CCAs each and every year, telling basically the CRA that the property has depreciated in value. And they believe you and they give you the credit for it. But now you are selling it, let's say 10 years down the road, and you just sold it for an extra, I don't know, $1 million profit. I'm just giving you an arbitrary number. Then the CRA not only wants to see the capital gain based on that growth that you made compared to the buying price as well as the selling price, but now they're going after you and they're saying, wait a second, you were writing off all these CCAs all these years, telling us that the property value has depreciated, but in reality it actually went up. So they will be recapturing it from you. Just keep that in mind, please, and set money aside for that scenario. You're still winning the game and you're still ahead, as opposed to if you would not be doing it, but just be aware of these things. However, if you're actually investing in commercial real estate, there's something that is real fun, and you probably saw it on plazas or hotels or whatever else. People that are holding on to those type of properties for a really long period of time, maybe even 20 years, I'm just giving you arbitrary time frames. And then you see that there's really nothing wrong with that property, but they suddenly bulldoze it down. Why are they doing it? I'm telling you why. Because they were writing off all those CCAs all those years, and they have no intention whatsoever to pay it back to the CRA. So when you actually bulldoze down the building, you are literally writing it off as a complete total loss. So not only are no longer needing to pay back the CCAs, but also you are able to write off the bulldozing of the building because now it's considered a complete capital loss, and you have the land and you can just rebuild whatever you want, and basically the clock starts from you. So there are some interesting ways, and Randi is huge in commercial real estate, so just pick her brain, ask her, and she will be able to direct you if that's the road that you want to go, investing in commercial real estate, so she can help you with that as well. Okay. All right. So I just need to move seeing your beautiful faces so that I can see my screen. All right, fuel for your savings. So we talked about the vehicles before. We had our Honda, we had our Acura, we had our Ferrari, we had all kinds of, vehicles. But all of those vehicles need some sort of a fuel to make sure that they are accelerating and going from A to B. Okay, so let's talk about some of those fuels. One of them, which is a major culprit and everybody knows them, is a GIC. Who wants to tell me what a GIC is and how it works? Evie, you're still on the call. I want you to talk to me. Evie, George, Jacob, I'm talking to you. Nice. Okay, who wants to tell me how GIC works? Karen, would you like to volunteer? You're muted, love. Okay, thank you.
Was a guaranteed investment certificate, but I don't know much about them. Low interest, but secure investment that you can make with the bank.
Okay, you summarize things. I like that. Okay, good. Appreciate it. Very good. Okay, so GIC, you're bang on. GIC stands for Guaranteed Investment Certificate. And the reason why people fall for it is the first word, guarantee. And who wouldn't like guarantees, especially in uncertain times? All right, so here's the problem, and you are bang on, Karen. The interest that they are paying these certificates is so low that every single time it's below inflation. What does it do to you? Remember the $20 when we invested, but we kind of forgetting about it, and it doesn't really earn that much. So even though if on paper it shows that it's more, but now you can buy less with it, really you are behind the game, not ahead, not even bar, not even at par. So just be aware of it. Not only that, we already talked about that the value is eroding, but the money is tied down. So in reality, when you invest in a GIC, believe it or not, you are the lender. So you are going to the bank, you are saying, here's how much money I have, I lend it to you. And then the bank says, fantastic. For a certain period of time, I can use this money whichever way I want, and they will be investing it their way in the background to actually truly make money with it. And now they're giving you crumbs. Here's the catch. If for whatever reason you need to access this money prematurely, and let's assume the contract allows you to break the term that you tied it down to, you will not only not get your interest that you should have been getting, but potentially you're not even getting your full principal back because there's a penalty involved. Remember, now the bank is losing out on their opportunity to make the money. So unfortunately, you have to carry that loss as well. All right, so loss of opportunity, I should say. So therefore, is this a good idea? Absolutely not. Okay. I know that, especially when, markets are as crazy as they were, since March, many people are trying to go into these things. The problem is if you now tie yourself down to the even a full year, I don't know, like I don't feel comfortable about it. Like I like to have control. That's just my perspective. Okay. All right. Before we go into mutual funds, let's just talk about stocks or shares. Those are interchangeable terms because those are the forefathers of mutual funds. So just in the interest of time, and right now we are at 9 o'clock, so we have about a half an hour. Okay. So just in the interest of time, I'd like to just quickly explain. Okay. So shares or stocks are representing one company at a time. So per stock, one company is represented. So if you buy Manulife shares or Sun Life, or let's say Tesla or Microsoft or Apple, whatever, doesn't matter. That's what you're buying. It's not a mix of different things. That's the one thing that you are putting your horse. That's the horse that you're betting on. Okay. So why is it a little bit dangerous out there? Remember what happened with Sears or Nortel? Those companies went belly up. So when a company goes belly up, you as a shareholder are getting nothing. So the worth of that share becomes absolutely zero. Okay. You can't just buy one share just to try it out. You have to buy a minimum of a block, which is 100. Okay. Not only that, but stocks are traded on the worldwide stock exchanges, and it starts in Tokyo as the sun rises and it goes all the way to the west. So I'd like to give you a scenario, and it's going to be a little bit distorted. I'm going to explain you why it's distorted, but I want to really bring down the message so that you understand. Okay, so Big Joe lives in London, England, and he wakes up one day extremely early and he starts watching what's happening in the Asian markets. And he decides that he's going to invest in company A, B, and C just as soon as the London Stock Exchange opens, which is 8 a.m. in the morning, and stock exchanges close at just before 4 p.m. So what does it signal to the market? That there's a large demand for those companies, because stock prices are influenced by a lot of things. They are influenced by obviously the demand, and we are going into that story in a mere moment. Just like, housing prices are also influenced by demand. But a lot of other things as well, such as politics. I don't really hate to break it down to you, but what is happening nowadays with, with Trump's tweets, that was unheard of before. Like last March, he literally brought the entire Asian stock market into a recession just because of his tweets, against the Chinese and everything else. And literally they started to finally recover in December. Next thing you know, COVID hits, right? So, these type of influences obviously are, again, affecting geographic location, politics, and also the company's own policies and how they are perceived. Remember when Tesla shares went down temporarily just because Elon Musk had a certain statement that turned out to be incorrect? So there are all kinds of reasons why, share prices are fluctuating. But let's just look at the demand for a mere moment, okay? So Big Joe has been buying his large amount of shares in companies A, B, and C, okay? So that signals to the market that, oh, there might be some sort of a reason behind it. There might be a demand. So people start jumping on the bandwagon because the prices are going up and they want to, climb on that ladder that is, going up, right? Only to find out that Big Joe is selling all his proceeds at $359.59, already making his profit, and everybody else is losing because now it's going down. In reality, this is not possible because when you trade in stocks, it's traded +3 before they settle. So only after that you would be able to sell. However, because there was appetite to do just the scenario that I depicted, basically the industry came out with options and futures. So in theory, you can buy something that is not even there yet and sell it when it's not even there yet. So it is possible. And actually in Germany, I have been working for that business law firm who was handling, these options that went to the Frankfurt Stock Exchange. So there's a lot of back-end work as well involved just to even create them. So clearly this is the big boys game, and I really hate to use these words, but the financial services sector is a highly male dominant industry. So either you understand the game and you have the financial resources to play it, or you have the financial resources to at least hire a stockbroker to do this for you. Okay. And on that note, yes, there are some awesome ladies as well in this world and who are doing a phenomenal job for their clients or for themselves, but it's still, pretty much a male dominant world. Long story short, the industry came out with something that is more digestible for the average investor, which are the mutual funds. Let me explain you how they work. Mutual funds are very much like a pie. So just like pies come in multiple flavors, you have the strawberry, the apple, in pecan, cherry, blueberry, bumbleberry, just name it, okay? Same way, mutual funds come with diversification as well. So you have it really for every appetite. It's not just from a conservative all the way to the aggressive, but it's also different geographic locations, different industries, topics, and so on. Not only that, but now you are actually getting a professional portfolio manager along with your mutual fund. So those are now the people, and it's not just one person, it's usually a team that is working on it, who are now monitoring the worldwide stock exchanges, because these individual components, these are basically stock packages, right? So they are monitoring the individual components, how they are doing. And let's assume one component or two or whatever is not doing what the overall strategy of the fund is supposed to do, they actually have the right to replace it and put something else in it. Similarly, you find out that right now I'm on a keto diet with gluten-free and whatever else, so you're nice enough that you do want to make me that pie. And you are obviously nice enough to change the flour to something gluten-free and the sugar to erythritol, which is a keto sweetener. And guess what? We will be having a fantastic pie party, okay? so that's how it works. I just like to bring it in the correlation in terms of how it works. In theory, you also have unlimited growth potential. And the reason why I put it into parentheses is because we need to understand money does make money, but it needs time and it needs some sort of a risk appetite. If you have a very small amount of money, a very limited time for growth, and a very low risk tolerance, you still will be able to grow, but it won't be as effective as if you had more time and a higher risk appetite. So that's why when you invest, it's so important to that the financial person that you're dealing with is actually assessing your risk tolerance. So you're not just buying into something that you're hoping to have, but it's really not fitting your own profile. Now, question to you: do we have any guarantees on mutual funds? No. Joyce is shaking her head, and she's correct. There's absolutely no guarantees whatsoever. We remember what happened in 2008, and we don't even need to go too far. We also see what happened, in March this year. When it rains, it pours, big time. So let's just talk about 2008 because everybody remembers, and thank God we have kind of like a correlation of what happened after, and we know that what goes down usually goes up as well over time. The challenge is that those people who were close to retirement at that point, they really did not have a choice, and you have to short sell your funds because you need to start taking money because now you are relying on those. That's when you're losing out, or you can't retire at the time when you want to, or not in the style. Okay. So long story short, when 2008 happened, segregated funds were out there for over 40 years. It's just that people don't know about them. This is how they work, okay? They are working basically like mutual funds, but with an umbrella. So whatever is your vehicle, whether it was an RSP type of instrument like RSP Leader RIF or TFSE or non-registered account, you're protected. So you have the same diversification, the same portfolio management, the same unlimited growth. But now you suddenly have principal guarantee, maturity guarantee, death benefit guarantee. You can lock in market gains. You're bypassing probate. You have creditor protection. And I promise, I'm probably losing you right now because I know it's 9 o'clock, but I'm going to explain each and every one of these through a story so that you will understand what I'm talking about. But if you, for instance, have a corporation, then the capital dividend account you can literally utilize for something like this. Okay? All right. So let's go into the story. But before, if it rains, your umbrella is protecting your investments. So Joyce, because you're smiling so nice, I'm going to ask you to unmute yourself, and you will be my lovely example here. Unmute yourself, please.
Okay,
who's your best friend?
I'm unmuted now.
Thank you, love. Who's your best friend? Someone who's not your family.
My girlfriend.
What's her name?
Leslie.
Leslie. Okay, perfect. So you and Leslie are each investing $100,000. She's just going to a bank and she's buying mutual funds because that was a recommendation, but you are getting segregated funds because you understand the benefit. Even though the market immediately goes down, you're not really affected. Yes, you see the fluctuation on your online thing, but really you're not affected by it in terms of assuming you don't need the money. So then finally markets recover and the market is going up. So let's say 2007, the market value is now 130,000. You lock in, meaning you reset your guarantee. Previously it was your principal, but now the new guarantee becomes is when you lock it in. Locking in is not like with the GIC where you can't access it. It just simply means, terminology-wise, you reset your principal guarantee. That's what it means. Okay, good. Then 2008, at the beginning of the year, it still went up, so you still locked it in. Great. Now you just simply raised it, and now the new guarantee is at 140,000. The way I really bring it down that the money is still liquid, if now, after locking, you need to access 20,000 just to fix a leaky roof, it's all cool. We take it out, no penalties whatsoever. It's your money. It's all good, right?
Mhm.
Okay, let's assume you didn't need to fix that roof because there's no leak, and the roof is still standing still and standing high, and now markets went down as well. However, because you locked it in at that 140,000, once the maturity kicks in, meaning that for that time period, a new cycle starts, it's automatically now the new cycle starts at the locked in value as opposed to the true market value if the market value is lower. Of course, if the market value is higher, then that's where it starts. So you always restart your cycle, whatever is the higher amount. Okay. So now let's look at another scenario, Leslie. Let's assume that the two of you ladies are still investing the same $100,000. And let's assume in year one, you get a call from me and an email and, my beautiful personality telling you, hey, congratulations, you have grown, to 110, and I recommend you to, lock in your market game. But you forget about it and, like, what, it's all good, it's fine, whatever. So we didn't lock it in, and it's all good, it's your decision. But in year two, when I tell you, by the way, congratulations, Joyce, because you just, gained, and now your new value is 120,000. And then you say, you know what, let's lock it in. It's all good. Okay, so that's going to be my new guarantee. Perfect. So then in year three, you and Leslie are going on a vacation. Joyce, where would you like to go?
Aruba.
Aruba. Oh my God, I love, like, someone else earlier today wanted to go to Jamaica. So it looks like the Caribbean is very hot destination these days. I love that. Okay, so you and Leslie are going to Aruba, and you are enjoying the sunshine, the turquoise sea, great food, the palm trees, the sand under your feet, and the music, the vibes. And after 3 weeks in paradise, you decide, you and Leslie, let's just go home and let's take care of business. Okay, too much fun for the two girls, right? And of course, you are boarding first class. And as you're boarding first class, of course, once you are about to reach your altitude, they are serving you champagne just to welcome you. And everything is great up until suddenly the plane goes into major turbulence. And unfortunately, a hurricane crossed its path, and hate to say, but the plane is perishing in the hurricane over the Caribbean Sea. And that's the time when markets are down to $75,000. So how much would Leslie's beneficiary be getting?
Okay, did she lock it in at?
She's in mutual funds, remember?
Oh, she's in mutual funds.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, mutual funds. That's a good question. I really don't know the answer.
Okay, someone wants to try?
The only thing I can think of is that because she had it in mutual funds, her fund is secure.
No, it's not.
Pardon?
It's not. There are no guarantees in mutual funds. Zero.
Oh, in mutual funds? Okay. Okay. Then I'm wrong.
Right?
Yes. Okay.
No, you're not wrong. We are just,
okay.
channel our thinking. Okay?
Yes.
So with mutual funds, you have zero guarantees, right?
Right.
So in this case, her beneficiary would be getting, let's say, $70,000 or 75, sorry, if that was the market value.
Oh,
minus probate fees. Here comes the bad news. Even if you're investing in TFSAs, which is tax-free towards the federal government, basically the province of Ontario is assessing a death levy, and that is called the probate fees. So the first 50,000 of all your wealth, okay, they assess. The first 50,000 is carrying a 0.5% probate fee, and anything above is a 1.5. So it's a tiered system similar to the municipal taxes. Okay. Okay. Also, if you actually got your mutual funds through a brokerage, then there might be even some deferred sales charges involved. So it might not even be 75, it actually might be less, right? On the other hand, because you invested in segregated funds, Joyce, how much would your beneficiary be getting?
120.
Big time, free and clear of all of that.
See, now, that answer I knew.
Yeah. I have wonderful news to you, because none of this plane situation happened. It's just that the champagne went in your head, you fell asleep, you had a nightmare, but you perfectly safely arrived at Pearson and life continues. Okay? All is good. Okay, good. Thank you for being a sport. I appreciate you playing along.
Okay.
Okay,
I'm
good.
going on mute now.
Okay, any questions on this, or everybody's good with this? So far, so good? Okay. Okay, so we are going in, so now that we understand, how to, so we have 12 more minutes. Because you guys asked about the life insurance component, so let's talk about that as well, okay? Are we good if we go a little bit over, just a little bit over, past 9:30? Whoever can stay on, and for the rest we will have the recording, and really thank you for being with us, okay? But I really would like to show you how you can create money with insurance products as well, and one of them is really life insurance, okay? Okay, so we have two types of life insurances. One of them is term, the other one is permanent. They are both fantastic, but they serve different reasons. So, oops, I'm cheating because I'm showing you right now the answer. So whoever paid attention is knowing the answer. All right, so when you see family needs, their financial obligations and family lifestyle, obviously, one of these out of the two would be the perfect medium, and I already showed you, so might as well. And that would be a term insurance. And the reason why it's, these are term needs that should be covered, because financial obligations, aka mortgage or loans, they're typically for a certain term. So over time, the idea is that it's paid off. Also, the family needs today, kids are growing up, eventually they become, self-sufficient in a family lifestyle. Again, if you're working with someone who can help you to find that money invested and in different vehicles, and then ultimately grow that wealth, and at one point you will have a proper amount of residual income coming your way, so that you don't need to wake up and work. So therefore, these type of term needs are no longer there. Okay. However, interesting enough, there are two things certain in life, and those are death and taxes, and they go hand in hand. So as your wealth is growing, unfortunately, so will be your tax obligation at the end of life. That's why a proper estate planning is needed, and estate planning is needed before you die. It's not after, okay? So let's just be clear on that, because many people think, oh, well, now I need to speak with an estate specialist when I get an inheritance. Well, sorry to say, that's a little too late, okay? So while you are actually kicking around and you're healthy and young and you are able to control things, that's when you should be making decisions. And we are always young at heart, just saying, okay? Just in case someone wanted to clarify this statement. Okay, so and then obviously, if you want to leave a legacy, then that's also something, because we certainly don't know, when our time is up. So unless you have that glass thing that does it, certainly then, you want to create it. And then final expenses, unfortunately, funeral homes are fancy for a reason. They're quite expensive, so you want to make sure that there is money set aside so that the family is not scrambling to say a final goodbye. All right, so let's really break it down. So honestly, when I speak with term and permanent life insurances, that's the only time I do compare apples with oranges, okay? Both are fruits, but they work very differently. So let's look at them. We lost Ibby? No, Ibby's still on? She's just on mute. Okay, great. So term insurance in the industry, you can buy anything between 10 to 40 years, and any crooked years as well. Even if you say, what, for 27 years, after 27 years, I'm financially independent, then that's, what you should be looking at. And financial obligations such as, mortgage and different loan instruments, the kid and even the kids' education should be covered with something like this. And the income potential. Let me explain what income potential means. Let's assume you're a two-income household. I'm just giving you an example, okay? Then that means that typically that family is budgeting on both of that income. So now if one income is out the door prematurely, then that income needs to somehow being replaced, at least for a certain period of time, until either the lifestyle is changed or the family is able to, refunction, okay? So that's where the need comes in. The problem is that if you don't plan properly the term, and now you need to extend things, you are older. Because you're older, the premium is gonna go up. So insurance is not bought by money. I know that's the misconception. Oh, I can buy it anytime. Actually, you cannot. So insurance is bought by three factors. Number one, your biological gender, which biology-wise, it doesn't change. So for Bruce Jenner, I'm sorry, but for insurance purposes, he's a man, period. Okay? All right. Your health, which can change in a heartbeat, and your age, which is going up every single time. So I'm just giving you a real example to digest this. If you have a mortgage, let's say for 20 years, but you know that you can't afford to so-called retire up until for another, like a total of 30 years, then you should not go with a 20-year term because you already know that you have a longer need. So then probably a term 30 option. I'm just giving you scenarios, but this is something that I invite you to speak with me, and I'm happy to review your situation. And when we sit together, it's a complimentary consultation. There is no need to do anything other than educate yourself. And because I consider myself a financial doctor, just like when you are going to your doctor, everything that we discuss stays between us. It's not going anywhere. And the whole idea is to really understand your individual situation. So when someone has a question on these seminars, as long as it's a generic question I'm able to answer, as soon as it goes into the personal thing, I rather say, let's take it offline because I respect your privacy. Okay? All right. So let's look at permanent. So permanent is covering you for life. So from the insurance company's perspective, the risk is guaranteed because no matter how long you live, they need to pay, right? So initially, the premium would be more expensive than on a term, but because you're able to fix the premium and it's never going to go up, over time, you're actually winning. Not only that, it's not only taking care of those pesky estate taxes and helping with the financial expenses and so on, but this is the most beautiful savings vehicle. The CPA institution calls it TFSC on steroids. So let me explain you what that means. Out of the permanent policies, my personal favorite is universal life. And the reason being is because I personally don't like to take the bus. I like to drive. So I like to make sure that I am choosing my tempo, choosing the car, and choosing, my route, okay, where I want to go. When you are getting a whole life policy, and there's nothing wrong with whole life policies, but they are a little bit more expensive in terms of the admin costs and so on. And it's the insurance company who is making decisions in terms of how they're investing. And it's more like a pool. You don't really own anything. I like to call it either the bus, or I like to call it like socialism, or so like everybody puts something in a pot, and you really don't own anything, and there are no guarantees. And by the way, you cannot take money out anymore. 2017, January 1st, they changed the tax laws around money, like cash generating insurance policies for whole life specifically. If you have a whole life policy, you cannot take money out of it anymore. So basically what they recommend, if you got the policy prior to 2017, January 1st, you might be able to take a loan out of your own policy, which is great. If you bought it after 2017, January 1st, you have to actually assign the policy as a collateral to, let's say, a financial institution, a lending institution, and then they are giving you a loan, and basically your policy is the collateral. So what happens when you die? It's not your family who gets the money first, but it goes first through the entire estate proceeding. The bank needs to get their money first, and that's when they see it. That's not the purpose of life insurance. Life insurance should be helping within weeks of someone's passing to the family who's staying behind. It should not be going through a complicated process. Okay, so that was a side story so that you understand. With universal life, if it's designed correctly, which means the death benefit needs to increase, so it's not just the actual amount that you buy it for, but also any money that is accumulating should be paid up on passing. And it's important that the cost of insurance is level. Okay, so what does it mean? As you age, it's not going up, and it's not going to eat up that cash. Okay, all right, so this is how it works. We lost channel. It's too bad. All right, so just bear with me in a mere moment. So let's assume for a mere moment you have this permanent policy, and I just use easy numbers for everyone to understand, and 100,000 seems to be an easy number. you have, let's say you have, a bracelet that is covering you for life, like this policy, but it also has this lovely little cash component. So basically, as you pay the premium in it, it's not just paying the cost of insurance, and you can prepay it. As you see, in this scenario, we are prepaying it in 20 years, just like, the way you choose your mortgage, you pay it off in whatever amount, and then it's all yours, right? So similarly, you can say, okay, you know what, I want to pay it off in 10 years, 20 years, somewhere in between, more, doesn't matter, okay, whatever is your financial situation. But the premium that you are paying is doing multiple things. Not only is paying, for the policy cost and prepaying it, but it's also putting money into a cash accumulation that is going tax-free, okay? So this is where the CPA organization called it TFSC on steroids. Because unlike with the TFSC, where the government prescribes how much you can put in, here based on your policy's size, it can be a substantial amount. Okay. Not only that, but in case now you have additional loans, because let's say you start investing in real estate or whatever else, you can add additional. So the policy value is rising, as we discussed, but you can add additional term riders to it. Okay. So basically what it means, you can add up to 5, by the way. So if you start investing in real estate and now you have different mortgages, don't even worry about mortgage insurance, and you can just add additional riders, term riders to a policy like this. It's similarly, those of you who celebrate Christmas, put ornaments on the Christmas tree, or, if you like the Pandora, then you have the different chimes on your Pandora bracelet. Okay, sounds good? So this particular solution I actually did for one of my clients because her main concern was to create true wealth within the insurance policy. And so she was a 32-year-old non-smoker who was very, very healthy. And therefore we were able to actually reward her, and she got optimal rating. That's so basically you can actually be rewarded for a healthy lifestyle. And so therefore now your cost of insurance is actually going down. So in this particular scenario, she went with a $500,000 initial coverage, and obviously I changed the name. No, her name is not Jane Doe. Okay, but basically her goal was to pay it off in 20 years and have the maximum amount of cash accumulation that she can get from an insurance policy as such. So we actually have a full transparency in terms of the breakdown of things. So 2% of the premium that someone is paying in, we actually have to pay to the province of Ontario to maintain the tax-exempt status, okay? $10 is the monthly policy fee. So basically when you see that the annual premium is $2,300.06, then that already encompasses all of those. It's just that it's broken down for transparency reasons, okay? But really, that's the cost of insurance. Now, when you see that the maximum that she can plug in is $14,606, basically the room for the cash accumulation is the number between these two. So 14,606 minus 2,300 is the room for that cash. Remember this one here, that lovely, with the dollar sign. Okay, that's the room that she can utilize. So if you look at it, how much she's paying in on a monthly basis, it's actually less than what a mortgage is. Okay, $1,200, whatever. But look what happens. So I actually ran this illustration on a very low growth, because that's our balanced portfolio's overall return, but I like to under-promise and over-deliver. She actually is a high risk investor, so I know for a fact that for her, actually the growth will be more significant than what we were projected. So, the surrender value, so we actually have two different things. I put the first 20 years left, and then from 21 onwards to the right, okay? So the surrender value is that she can access at any given point up to 90%. And then on the right-hand side, you see that after 20 years, she's no longer paying anything into the premiums. Her coverage is obviously on, but in the surrender value now, you see that there is a tremendous amount of money that she can take out. Not only that, but if you look at the death benefit, okay, oh, you have to leave, Karen. Okay, it's awesome to meet you, and we definitely stay in touch. Okay, that's great. So with regards to the death benefit, remember, she started off with 500,000. So 500 was 705 is clearly not, 2,181. So, or 2,181,000. So basically, at one point, they start getting also bonus on the death benefit. So let's assume for a mere moment in this year, in year 21, she already has, 705,000 that she can access. And let's assume she takes out 600,000. But she's like, you know what? I'll just buy my house on cash. Okay, why not, right? And let's assume she buys it at a point where it's not the GT, and obviously she can afford doing it. Then the death benefit is not going to go down to 500,000. It's, only the 600,000 that she took out is going to go down, right? So 2,181,000 minus 600,000 would still be the death benefit. We understand? Okay, so just wanted to make sure that this is clear. So with a policy like this, you really create what in the industry calls a waterfall concept. So in her case scenario, she took care of herself with her own savings as one of the sources that she utilized. And at the same time, she also took care clearly of the next generation. Interesting enough, we can actually do that for our children as well. And I know it's a little bit morbid because of, oh my God, like who wants their child to be there? At one point, unfortunately, we all will be transitioning. The question is, what can we do for them and for the next generation? So this next illustration is also a real life scenario of one of my clients. The parents were already my clients when she got pregnant. And they basically told me, Eni, why did you create something for us for when she's born? They knew that it's going to be a girl. Where we pay something, anything between $100 and $120 in a month, and we pay it off in 20 years. I'm like, sure, no problem. So basically, when the girl turned 3 weeks old, we actually set up the policy. You can set up a policy like that as soon as the baby turns 14 days old. Okay. So in their scenario, they are paying $110 for 20 years, but look what happens. If you really do the calculation, $110 for 20 years each and every month, they're paying in $24,600 over the life of the policy. Okay, if you look at it very closely, by the time they are able to access the money, by the time they stop paying in it, they are able to take out every single penny they ever paid in and more. Again, the parents are actually aggressive investors, and just running it on the balanced portfolio, I know that they will be making way more than this. Okay. And then by the time their daughter is reaching the normal retirement age, she will be able to take out, well, in reality, she will be able to take out well over $500,000 out of it, even if she never put a cent aside into an RSP or whatever else, okay? So you really, really take care of 2 generations. Yeah, so I love it. Honestly, I have it for my kids. I have it for, most of my clients' kids as well. Because I see the value in it. Now, this is not in lieu of RESP. I need to be clear on that. RESP is a short-term savings vehicle specifically for the child's education, and you should be doing it because you're getting government grants. Why not? Why would you say no to free money? At the same time, that will be used up over time. So imagine now you have this one as well. Then once the RESP is depleted, then you have another source of money that you can utilize as well. But with this one, you don't have the stipulation that you have to use it for education. You can use it for whatever you want. Okay? Make sense? Good. Very good. Okay. So last 5 minutes. Last 5 minutes. Okay. So what's your most valuable assets? Honestly, it's your health. Your health is your wealth. Because quite frankly, if you had a money-making machine, would you protect it? I hope the answer is yes. I have good news for you. You are that money-making machine. You are that money-making machine. Okay. So this is a little bit of statistics just before we wrap it up. Unfortunately, 1 in 2 Canadians are supposed to be diagnosed with cancer during their lifetime. Thank God, because cancer is more curable than it used to be before. 75% of those people who are getting diagnosed actually will be surviving it, which is great. The challenge is that when you are getting that type of diagnosis, probably that's shaking the floor under your feet big time. So that's not the time when you should be scrambling upon, oh my God, am I able to pay my mortgage? Am I able to put food on the table, whatever else? At that point, you should be selfish enough to take it back and say, I have to take care of myself. So this is where critical illness insurance can come in and actually pay you a lump sum tax-free money. And I'm just bringing up cancer because cancer is so prevalent and such an epidemic. And if you actually go on the Canadian Cancer Society's website, they literally had to change their statistics August 2017. Before it was 1 in 3. and now it's 1 in 2. So, unfortunately, this is something that is happening. Also, the per capita rate of multiple sclerosis is the highest in Canada. And there are speculations. I can only share the speculations with you. It's not my opinion. It's just, and it's not 100% proven, but because we have such long winters and we are obviously, covering ourselves and whatever else, we are probably not getting enough vitamin D. So there might be some correlation with that. But it's true or not, might as well just take your vitamin D. Honestly, it's good for your bones anyways. Okay. All right. And then, of course, heart attack and stroke are two of the other two culprits. Honestly, critical illness policies, no matter which company you're going with, should be covering more than just these that you mentioned, because now we know that with COVID, unfortunately, people are experiencing certain organ failures, kidney failures, whatever else. If you had a policy like that, it actually helps you and it pays, okay? And many times you are thinking, okay, why do I need the money at that point? Let me tell you something, okay? When you get a diagnosis that is really shaking the floor under you, you don't want to be on the mercy of the OHIP system. Unfortunately, to see a specialist in the OHIP system, that takes time. So when you get that lump sum money, you do with it as you please. And I actually have clients who went down to the States, they paid for that testing. And once you have the testing, guess what? Then you come back and you stand ahead of the line because now you know exactly what treatment, what medication, what doses is needed to actually treat that particular thing that you have. So actually, you just increase the chance of survival. Also, one of my other clients who is battling brain cancer, if it was on the Ajax Hospital, she would be dead for 2 years now, because they gave her 2 to 3 weeks to live. But because our policies include the best doctor's rider, we were able to fax her medical data and the treatment plan to whoever was at that time the worldwide specialist for that particular brain cancer that she's battling. And quite frankly, they made a counter recommendation, and she literally walked out of the hospital on her two legs, 2 feet. Right, she still has cancer, but at least we won time for her. So hopefully at one point her cancer will become curable. Okay, so I just really want to bring it down that there's more to it than just the money. And specifically, our policies can even be converted to long-term care, which is huge right now. Remember, who are the most victims? Where are the most victims come from the COVID situation? From long-term care homes, and probably not from the ones that are really good and really well organized. So, if we live a nice and long life, we should have the opportunity to either have a private duty nurse to help on the family, or being able to check in to somewhere where they are taking care of us and we live in dignity, okay? Now, when we look at this car, and this is a German car, I had to choose a German car because I'm half German, half Hungarian, so just bear with me, okay? If we only would have a car that comes with airbags, we would be in big trouble, okay? So thank God for brakes, okay? We have to use those brakes. And those are the disability insurance policies. Disability insurance policies are replacing your paycheck, your income. So you remember how we talked about that in the COVID situation, there are many people who are operating from the leg, and there's a lot of anxiety going on, a lot of depression. Guess what? Those people who have a proper disability policy, and we own 45% of the disability market because our policies are so robust and they really, really, really help. 31% of our claims are coming from mental, meaning stress, burnout, anxiety, whatever it is. So if you had a policy like that and you really are stressed, your income actually has been replaced right now. So you're not on the mercy of CERB. Just saying, okay? But of course, it just one of the aspects. For instance, for me, I had a major car accident, obviously for an injury that is not, breaking your neck or whatever else, you are, it's still replacing your income. And when you are having a medical, I call it a medical event, okay? And I went through this because I didn't have a proper income protection. I didn't have a proper disability insurance. I have experienced firsthand what is it like when you use up your savings that you have been growing all these years. Then the next step is you start putting stuff on your credit card. So that is rising. And then you refinance your mortgage, whatever else. And whatever was that beautiful goal. You remember how at the beginning of this scenario of this webinar, we talked about your goals? So whatever is your goal at that point, you either need to really push out the timing of it, or maybe you really need to seriously adjusting it. So that's why it's so important to look at plan B alternatives in terms of how we are mitigating risk and truly creating a holistic solution for you to actually get there. So if you're a business owner and you have actual business costs, which you probably do, because you have, certain licenses that you need to maintain, certain professional, sorry about it, guys, I'm getting a certain professional use, or let's say you have to pay a rent, or you have employees or utilities or whatever else, then you know what, those costs can also be covered as part of this disability insurance package. It's just that that product is called the business overhead expense protection. And the beauty of it is that the premium is tax deductible. So really Trudeau is paying for it. Isn't he smart? So this is, what I wanted to share with you today. And in my opinion, really choice, not chance, should determine your destiny. You should have the say about your choice. And I'd like to really open it up. And if you can just share with me, what is your takeaway from today? What did you learn? What is it that you like? I would appreciate your feedback.
Hi. I've learned a lot from this session, and I do hope to keep in touch with you so I can find out more, because I think that having more choices for me to be able to be more informed about with respect to investing and savings, it makes it easier for me to give proper guidance and direction to the people that I work with.
Perfect.
So yeah, so having this session tonight, I believe that my takeaway is basically I liked the dream pictures, the little clouds, the floating clouds. I thought those were kind of cool. Yeah, I thought they were cool because it's really about the three things that are helping me to motivate me to invest, which I really am not doing right now. So it's just something that I need to be looking at. So it was a takeaway for me to start thinking those ways and to realize that, you know what, even though I'm not 20 years old, I can still dream it and achieve it. And that's what I like about this here program tonight and this session tonight with you, because it doesn't matter what age you're at. You just may have to pay a little bit more if you're older, and but just to start. And once you start, just keep that momentum going and keep building on that momentum. And
beautiful. I love it.
Yeah, and that's what I think is important for me to even portray to people that I work with, is for them to start. Because I haven't really gone into a whole lot of budgeting with people. So now I've found that I've needed to do this because I have people that I'm positioning for purchasing down the road. And in order for me to do that, I have to put them on a budget. So this is why I've already typed a little blurb that I would like to keep in touch with you. So I'm sure you have my information. I'd like to maybe sit down with you at another time and go through some other form of budgeting that I can offer to people that I'm working with today, because I haven't had a need to do it in the past, but now I do. So I'm very grateful for the takeaway to start at any time, even if it's just $50, and to just keep building on that $50 and to watch it grow. Because that's where it all starts from. You see that little seed start to sprout up a little leaf, and then that leaf grows into a tree with all kinds of branches and leaves flying around,
Absolutely.
So that's my takeaway from this session tonight. So I'm very grateful for that. Thank you.
Awesome, Joyce. Thank you so much. I'm definitely happy to have, you don't even have to wait until the lockdown is up. Like, we can definitely have a virtual coffee chat. And then at one point we should be having our hug sessions.
Awesome. Okay. Yes. And you know what? I'm a hugger.
Good. Okay. We will understand each other well. Awesome.
Yes. Okay.
How about you, Melina? Thank you so much for the feedback. Appreciate it. Melina, what was your takeaway?
Thank you.
Was my take back. Actually, I have to almost reiterate everything that Joyce said, but the one thing I do want to say is the energy here tonight has been amazing. I only knew Randi, but anything she puts in front of me, I always know that I'm going to get more than my expectations. I truly believe that. I came into it thinking I was going to take away the information that I need for my business. I'm in real estate like Randi is, and up to now I have basic knowledge, and I always refer everybody to a financial consultant. You know, they always preach to us, don't talk about what you don't know and put it in the hands of a professional. But I actually have taken away so much of the big questions that I had about myself. So I too am going to definitely follow up with you, Eni. You are far from the stuffy person that sits behind the desk giving financial advice that I have been threatened with all my life. Hence, I haven't done some of the things that I wish I had. I took a few little pictures tonight of your screen because I didn't know if we were going to get the
You will.
presentation, but yeah, I am so happy. I'm sorry I kept coming in and out because they kept interrupting me tonight, and I did not want to miss what you were saying. So I'm grateful to all of you ladies. Yeah,
Thank you, Melina.
forward to that time we can have that coffee together.
Thank you for being on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Evie, unmute yourself, love.
Well, thank you again for everything. And I just want to let you know, ladies, I'm already doing everything that Eni says. She's my sister from another mother. And thanks to her, like, we were able to do lots of savings. And I'm very grateful to her. And I always learn. I know I'm not a financial, like, you know, it takes time for me. So thank you. And thank you, Randi. You guys are amazing.
No, sorry, you, honey.
Awesome.
And lovely, lovely to meet you guys, all of you.
Very good.
So hopefully we can have like a coffee date.
Oh, that would be lovely. That would be lovely. Okay. Well, everyone, really appreciate. Thank you so much. You gave me something that is the most valuable thing, honestly, and the only asset that you cannot get back, which is your time. So thank you so much for that. Thank you for your attention. And I'm certainly open to meet with you and learn more about you and how we can perhaps work together and collaborate and create all the good that we can. Okay?
Thank you, Eni,
Thank you, Eni.
Thank you.
for an amazing presentation. You outdid yourself once again. So thank you. We will propagate
I love you,
this.
Randi.
It might take a day or two because it's really, really long. And but we're gonna share it with you guys. So don't worry.
Okay. Thank you, Randi.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Goodbye.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.